From Mississippi, Mr. Ezell, for 5 minutes of questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you all for being here today and discussing this, and thank you, Mr. Chairman, for getting this going here. In recent years, the cyber insurance market has seen significant growth, largely driven by the rising volume of these cyber attacks. Businesses of all sizes have come to recognize the importance of cyber insurance as a crucial component of the risk management strategies. However, the absence of a standardized policy and underwriting processes apparently has created some confusion and leading to coverage limitations and high premiums. Mr. McCabe, can you briefly describe how cyber insurance varies by company and sector, including what is typically covered under a cybersecurity policy and what is not?
Sure. I would break down coverage on cyber insurance into really 3 buckets. You've had a cyber incident, and what are you going to pay out of pocket? So you're probably going to have a forensic investigation. You might have the costs associated with the cyber extortion. You might have a data breach where you have to afford credit monitoring to those who are impacted. There's probably legal expenses involved with all this. So it's those immediate incident response costs that you have to pay for as the first bucket. The second bucket, your business will be disabled for a period of time, and there might be lost revenue and extra expenses. And then the third bucket, in case there's any litigation, it would be the liability and the legal fees associated with that. That's largely what cyber insurance does. As far as what's not covered, we've talked about some of how large events will be excluded. And then, there's a very standard set of exclusions, but I think the confusion that often comes up is there'll be a claim about a cyber incident that might be put on a commercial general liability policy that's declined. And they'll say, well, cyber claim is, cyber insurance policies pay claim after claim after claim. People rely on these for those 3 buckets. They rely on them for the incident response services, and they have great benefits and incentives otherwise for improving cyber hygiene.
Thank you. What cybersecurity practices do cyber insurance providers expect companies to implement to qualify for coverage?
Yeah, there are definitely war stories in the industry associated with this. So in 2018, 2019, when ransomware really became an epidemic for companies, it was laser focused about what the controls are that are going to be most important for stymieing ransomware as a threat. And those are now mandatory, and those are things like endpoint detection and response, privilege access management to make sure that your user credentials aren't compromised, multi-factor authentication to verify that the user who's coming online is actually that person and not some threat actor. Yeah. Your patch cadence to make sure that vulnerabilities don't exist in your software. At Marsh McLennan, we aggregated the 12 most crucial controls that we ascertained through a polling of the carriers, and we put out publications to all of our insureds and to the market in general. These 12 controls are now mandatory for your coverage for ransomware, and they quickly became implemented. And prior to that, there was a very similar exercise with credit cards. Credit card breaches started happening in a big way in 2014, and quickly, we started using tokenization and chip cards, and that went away. So, we are always, there's nothing novel that the insurance industry invents. We just prioritize the standards, and we make sure those are communicated to the insureds.
Very good, thank you. Ms. Denbo, in May, this subcommittee held a hearing on private sector perspectives regarding the proposed rule to implement the Cyber Incident Reporting for Critical Infrastructure Act. While this rule aims to establish a standard for incident reporting, several agencies have developed their own cyber incident reporting regulations. How do entities within the gas sector view this regulatory landscape in terms of their ability to respond to a catastrophic cyber attack?
Congressman, thank you very much for that question. What you're getting to is the topic or word du jour, which is harmonization. You are hearing that everywhere. To be honest with you, it's a pipe dream. Yeah. And the reason why it is, no pun intended about pipe, but the reason why it is because one, CISA does not have the authority to incentivize the other agencies to follow suit and to follow CISA's lead. Two, the other agencies are not incentivized. They have no incentive to follow CISA's lead. And three, the problem is, at the end of the day, it becomes the responsibility of the operator to make sure all of these government entities are harmonized. And so it's almost like the teenager trying to get the parents to act appropriately. And it is just not going to happen. And I speak from personal experience because at the American Gas Association, through the Oil and Natural Gas Subsector Coordinating Council, we intentionally tried to harmonize CFATs with the Coast Guard cybersecurity assessment plans. CFATs was totally on board, the Coast Guard was not.
Right.
End of story.
Well, that's typical of the federal government. Harmony and getting things done in a timely manner, in a cooperative way, it's very hard to get things done with the federal government. Thank
Yes,
you very
sir.
much.
And harmonization works as long as you're singing the song of whoever that agency is.
100%. Thank you very much. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. I wish we could get CFATs done, but there's a certain senator from Kentucky keeping us from getting it done, but hopefully